Hello, and welcome to the AstroGuy Podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Zuhl, and this is a special one, our 100th episode. When I launched this show, my goal was simple: to share the beauty and wonder of the night sky in a way that everyone can enjoy. That includes whether you're using just your eyes, binoculars, or a telescope. Until recently, I had no idea just how far we'd come. Over these 100 episodes, we've toured many of the moon's most striking features. We've followed planets through their oppositions and conjunctions, explored distant galaxies, clusters, and nebulae, marked eclipses and meteor showers, and enjoyed those rare, perfect nights under the stars. We've also watched history unfold with new space missions and discoveries, and celebrated some of the great astronomers in history. Along the way, we welcomed excellent guests who've entertained and educated us with fun discussions, and there are more to come. We've even streamed live events from occultations to deep sky imaging sessions. But what really makes this milestone special is you, the audience. Your questions, observations, and excitement have shaped the show as much as the topics I choose. I've heard from backyard observers seeing Saturn's rings for the first time, from astrophotographers chasing that perfect deep sky image, and from students inspired to study astronomy because of something they heard here. So here we are at episode 100, and I can promise you this: as long as there are skies to explore, there will be more episodes to come. To celebrate, let's do what we do best: take a guided tour of the night sky. September brings crisp, lengthening nights, making for great observing weather. This month, 2 planets reach opposition. We'll explore one of the brightest features on the moon, tour the constellation Cassiopeia, and much more. So whether you're a seasoned stargazer or just starting out, there's something in this month's sky for you. So let's get into it. We'll kick things off with our Planetary Roundup for August 2025. Unfortunately, Mercury does not put on a very good show this month. Lucky observers with great eastern horizons might spot it during the first few days of September, very low in the east, just before sunrise. After the 4th, it will be lost in the glare of the sun for the rest of the month. If you're able to spot elusive Mercury, even though it will be bright at magnitude -1.4, you'll still likely need binoculars to pick it out of the morning twilight. While Mercury is difficult to observe this September, Venus will be a joy for pre-dawn observers. On September 1st, Venus rises at 3:46 a.m., shining brilliantly at magnitude -3.9. It shows an 84% gibbous phase, spanning about 12 arcseconds across. As the month goes on, Venus rises a little earlier each day. By the end of September, it's still about the same brightness, but its phase has grown to 91% illuminated. Its apparent size shrinks slightly to around 11 arcseconds, and it's rising at 4:50 a.m. Observers with a clear eastern horizon will want to be up early on the morning of the 19th. In the pre-dawn sky, a thin waning crescent moon, less than 6% illuminated, will sit less than half a degree north of Venus. Adding to the beauty, the bright star Regulus, at magnitude 1.35, will be just half a degree south of Venus. Together, they'll form a tight, striking trio, perfect for binoculars or wide-field photography. For the best view of Venus this month, try observing about an hour before sunrise. At that time, the planet is high enough to be seen clearly, but the sky is still dark. Even simple binoculars will show its gibbous phase. 4-inch and larger telescopes can reveal the Venusian atmosphere as well, provided seeing conditions are steady. Mars will be low in the east at sunset all month. You'll need a good western horizon to pick it out of the twilight glow. On the 1st, the red planet sets at 8:54 p.m. and shines at magnitude 1.6. Its disk spans just over 4 arcseconds, making spotting details difficult. By the end of September, Mars sets at 7:47 p.m. It will still glow at magnitude 1.6, but will have shrunk to just under 4 arcseconds across. As September begins, Jupiter rises at 2:06 a.m., glowing brilliantly at magnitude -2. In a telescope, its disk spans about 34 arcseconds. As the month progresses, Jupiter rises earlier each night. By the end of September, it's up by 12:34 a.m., slightly brighter at magnitude minus 2.1, and a bit larger at about 36 arcseconds across. Even in binoculars, you can spot Jupiter's disk and its 4 bright Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. They're often arranged in striking patterns that change from night to night, and their motion can sometimes be noticed in just a matter of minutes. Through a telescope, the planet reveals dark equatorial bands, lighter zones, and when the timing is right, the Great Red Spot. Higher magnifications on nights of good atmospheric stability can bring out delicate swirls, festoons, and smaller storms in the cloud tops. Jupiter is a constant source of surprises for observers. On the morning of September 16th, the 29% waning crescent moon will be about 4.5 degrees north of Jupiter. This pairing will be a lovely sight with the naked eye and especially beautiful in binoculars. For the best views of Jupiter this month, aim for the early morning hours when it's highest in the sky. Use moderate to high magnification to bring out detail, and keep an eye on the Galilean moons. Watching their transits, eclipses, and occultations makes observing Jupiter fun and dynamic. But of all the planets visible this month, Saturn is the showstopper. It reaches opposition on September 21st. At opposition, Saturn is directly opposite the Sun in our sky, meaning it rises at sunset, sets at sunrise, and is visible all night long. Oppositions offer the best views of the outer or superior planets. This is prime time to enjoy Saturn at its finest. Saturn begins the month in Pisces and crosses into Aquarius on the 30th. On September 1st, it rises at 8:20 p.m., shining at magnitude 0.65. Its disk spans about 19 arcseconds, but with the rings included, the apparent size jumps to roughly 45 arcseconds. By month's end, Saturn brightens slightly to magnitude 0.6, with its apparent size about the same. Even small telescopes show the rings clearly. With higher magnification, you can glimpse details such as the Cassini division, along with subtle banding on the planet itself. Saturn's brighter moons, Titan, Rhea, and Tethys, are also visible in modest backyard telescopes. Steady seeing will let you push magnification and resolve finer details, which is especially rewarding during Saturn's grand display at opposition. Uranus spends all of September in Taurus, sitting about 4 degrees south and 1 degree east of the Pleiades. It glows faintly at magnitude 5.7 all month, right at the edge of naked eye visibility under dark skies. Through the eyepiece, Uranus grows only slightly in apparent size, from 3.6 to 3.7 arcseconds, too subtle to notice visually. On the morning of September 13th, the 62% waning gibbous moon will be about 7 degrees north and east of Uranus, forming a wide triangle with the Pleiades. The moon's glow will also make Uranus harder to pick out, so wide-field binoculars or a small telescope will be best to try to spot it. When you do spot it, you'll see Uranus as a tiny bluish-green disk standing apart from the stars around it. Neptune takes the spotlight this month among the distant ice giants. It reaches opposition on September 23rd, the best time of the year to observe it. At opposition, Neptune rises at sunset and remains visible all night. This is the best opportunity of the year to spot this elusive planet. You'll find Neptune in Pisces, shining at magnitude 7.8. That's well beyond naked eye visibility, but within reach of binoculars under dark skies, and an easy target in any telescope. Its disk spans just 2.4 arcseconds at opposition. Small for a planet, but still large enough to appear as a tiny, steady blue dot rather than a star-like point. For guidance, Neptune lies just over 2.5 degrees away from Saturn this month. Planetarium software like Stellarium can help you zero in on faint, distant Neptune. As I write this episode, there are no comets brighter than 10th magnitude. Next month, we'll give you an update on Comet 3I Atlas, an interstellar comet that may be making an appearance in several months. There are no major meteor showers visible this month. On September 7th, the moon will put on a show with a total lunar eclipse. A total lunar eclipse happens when the moon passes completely into Earth's dark central shadow, the umbra. As it does, the moon gradually dims, taking on shades of gray before glowing a deep, coppery red. That red hue comes from sunlight filtered through Earth's atmosphere. The light is bent into the shadow and projected onto the lunar surface. What makes this eclipse particularly exciting is its length. Totality will last about 82 minutes, making it the longest total lunar eclipse in the past 3 years. That's plenty of time to watch the colors change and really soak in the view. The eclipse will be visible across all of Asia and Australia. It will also be seen from Central and Eastern Europe and much of Africa. Unfortunately, those of us here in the Americas will miss out on this one. The timing just doesn't line up for us. If you're in a region where the eclipse is visible, I'll leave a link in the show notes where you can find the exact timings for your location. Mark your calendars. The September equinox occurs on September 22nd, when the sun crosses the celestial equator heading south. This marks the official start of autumn in the northern hemisphere and spring in the southern hemisphere. On this day and night are nearly equal in length all around the globe. It's a balance point in Earth's orbit that only happens twice a year. For observers in the north, the equinox also means nights are now getting noticeably longer than days. That translates into more dark hours for stargazing. With crisp autumn air setting in, conditions can often be steadier and clearer. For those in the southern hemisphere, the opposite is true. Evenings are getting shorter, but spring skies bring their own observing treasures. The equinox is one of those moments that connects what we see in the sky to life here on Earth. It reminds us that astronomy isn't just about distant objects, but about the rhythms that shape our seasons and our lives. Now it's time for the
Lunar Feature of the Month.
This month we're going to explore the dazzling crater Proclus, one of the brightest and most distinctive craters on the moon. Proclus measures about 28 kilometers, or 17 miles across, and almost 3 kilometers, more than 9,000 feet deep. By lunar standards, that's modest compared to giants like Tycho or Copernicus. But what it lacks in scale, it more than makes up for in brilliance and character. You'll find Proclus along the western edge of Mare Crisium, right where the dark basaltic plain meets the lighter highland terrain. That striking contrast makes it easy to pick out once you know where to look. Proclus is relatively young, likely only between 1 and 2 billion years old. On the moon, that counts as young. It's surrounded by a spectacular ray system with bright streaks of ejecta blasted outward during its formation. These rays stretch for hundreds of kilometers, more than 300 miles, with some reaching all the way to Mare Tranquillitatis. Unlike the nearly circular ray patterns you see around many other craters, Proclus's rays form more of a fan shape, radiating mainly westward. To the east, across Mare Crisium, there's a curious shadow zone with almost no rays. This asymmetry is one of the clearest signs of an oblique impact, where the incoming object struck the moon at a shallow angle from the east. The crater itself is sharply defined, with steep, terraced walls and a relatively flat floor. There's no prominent central peak, which is unusual for a crater this size. Researchers think the low-angle impact that created Proclus disrupted the usual central uplift. Under high magnification, the inner walls show slumping and terraces, a frozen reminder of the immense forces that carved it. The name comes from Proclus Lysias, a Greek philosopher and mathematician who lived from 412 to 485 CE. He was one of the last great scholars of the Platonic tradition in Athens, writing extensively on mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy. His work helped preserve and transmit classical knowledge that later fueled Renaissance science. It's fitting that a bright, prominent lunar landmark carries his name. From an observer's perspective, Proclus is best seen a day or two before first quarter, when the sunrise terminator is just west of Mare Crisium. At this angle, low sunlight highlights every detail. Through binoculars, it shows as a bright pinpoint at Crisium's edge. With a small or medium telescope, you'll notice its sharp rim and the fan-shaped rays. Around full moon, when rays across the lunar surface stand out most, Proclus is one of the brightest spots on the moon, almost glowing against the darker mare. For a challenge, try following the rays under different phases. Some stretch more than 600 kilometers or 370 miles from the crater. On steady nights, crank up the magnification and look for terracing inside the walls. You might catch fine detail that rewards patient observing. Proclus may not be the biggest crater, but it's one of the most rewarding to study. It's young, bright, and visually striking. I do hope that you'll give it a look the next time that you're observing the moon. Before we leave the solar system for our monthly deep sky tour, I want to remind you about a free resource that can help you find and enjoy the objects we talk about each month. In the show notes of every What's Up episode, you'll find a link to that month's Deep Sky Object Guide. Each guide is a PDF that includes the objects we cover, links to finder charts, basic details, and step-by-step descriptions to help you track them down. You'll also see a link to the complete episode guide, which lists every object we've explored since What's Up in the August 2023 skies. That's a big list now, and it grows every month. Best of all, these guides are completely free to download and updated regularly. That way you always have the latest version at your fingertips. Alright, enough of my yapping. Let's jump into this month's Deep Sky Tour. This month, we're going to explore one of my favorite autumn constellations, Cassiopeia the Queen. It's an easy constellation to find with its familiar W shape high in the northeastern sky during fall evenings. Cassiopeia sits right in the heart of the Milky Way, which means it's loaded with star clusters and nebulae. This month, we're going to walk through a few highlights. We'll start with Shadar, the star marking the bottom right of the W and the second brightest star in Cassiopeia. It shines at magnitude 2.2 and sits about 230 light-years away. Shadar is a red giant, about 40 times the size of our Sun. It glows with a warm hue that's easy to spot through binoculars or a small telescope. It makes a great jumping-off point for this month's tour. From there, we'll make our way to M52, an open cluster near the border with Cepheus. It was discovered by Charles Messier on September 7, 1774. Messier has also been featured in our Great Astronomer series. See the show notes. M52 lies about 4,600 light-years away and contains more than 180 stars packed into an area 13 arc-minutes wide. That's about half the apparent size of the full moon. At magnitude 6.9, it's visible in binoculars as a hazy patch. In my 70mm refractor, M52 stands out as a distinct grouping of several dozen faint stars, with an 8th magnitude star standing above the rest. It gives the cluster a rich, jewel box appearance. In my 8-inch Dobsonian, this cluster really stands out against the rich, starry background. To locate M52, imagine a line from Shadar to Kaf. Extend that line past Kaf the same distance, and you'll spot M52. Next on our tour is NGC 7789, one of the finest open clusters visible in the northern skies. It's known as Caroline's Cluster or Caroline's Rose. This remarkable cluster was discovered by Caroline Herschel in 1783. She is also featured in our Great Astronomer series, by the way. Again, check the show notes. Located about 7,600 light-years away and glowing at magnitude 6.7, Caroline's Rose spans about 16 arc-minutes. This is an unusually rich open cluster, so rich that astronomers estimate it has several thousand member stars. It's also relatively old for an open cluster, coming in at around 1.7 billion years. In binoculars, NGC 7789 looks like a soft, misty patch of light, but through a telescope the view transforms. Delicate streams of stars wind through dark lanes, creating the illusion of swirling rose petals frozen in space. That's what earned the cluster its romantic nickname. One of my most memorable views of this cluster came on a crisp September night in Vermont with my 8-inch Dobsonian and an 11mm Nagler. I had a field of view 1 degree wide at 83 power. The cluster seemed to dominate the field. It was breathtaking. Hundreds of stars floated at the center, woven together like an intricate cosmic rose. Even after many years at the eyepiece, NGC 7789 remains one of my favorite open clusters to return to whenever it's well placed in the sky. To find NGC 7789, start at magnitude 2.25 Kaf and sweep 2.5 degrees south and 1.5 degrees west, and you'll spot Caroline's Rose. Our next stop is the open cluster M103, discovered by Pierre Méchain on March 27, 1781. M103 lies about 9,400 light-years away and glows at magnitude 7.4. It's a small cluster, just 6 arc-minutes across, and it's about 15 light-years wide. The cluster is comprised of 172 stars, though a telescope reveals about 40 to 60 stars in a fan shape. One of the highlights is the striking red giant star Struve 131, which appears in the same field of view. Although it isn't physically part of the cluster, this foreground star adds a rich splash of warm color. Struve 131 is itself a double star, paired with a magnitude 9.8 companion, just 14 arcseconds away. Nearby, a magnitude 7.4 and a magnitude 8 white star form another beautiful visual pairing. There are cool tones contrasting with Struve 131's orange glow. In smaller scopes, like my 70mm refractor, the color contrast is especially noticeable. Under higher magnification with larger instruments, M103 really shines. Using my 8-inch Dob with a 7mm Nagler eyepiece at 130 power, the cluster stood out well in the field of view. Nearly 24 stars were sharp and clear, framed by a rich backdrop of faint starlight. Finding M103 is straightforward. Start at Rukba, Delta Cassiopeia. From there, sweep 1 degree east and half a degree north, and little M103 will come into view. Next, we'll visit a movie star. Well, sort of. Let's explore the fun open cluster NGC 457, known as the Owl or ET cluster. It was discovered by Sir William Herschel on August 18, 1780, with a 6-inch reflecting telescope. He's also featured in our Great Astronomer series. Shining at magnitude 6.4 and spanning about 13 arc-minutes, NGC 457 lies more than 7,900 light-years away. It's considered a young cluster, only about 21 million years old, and contains between 60 and 150 stars. Visually, it's easy to see how it earned its nicknames. The bright 5th magnitude star Phi Cassiopeia and the 7th magnitude HD 7902 form a pair of glowing eyes. Fainter stars stretch outward like arms or wings, creating the impression of an owl in flight, or to many, the unmistakable outline of E.T., the extraterrestrial. Through 50mm binoculars, you'll glimpse several stars against a hazy background. In my 70mm refractor, the pattern leaps out crisply, standing well apart from the background sky. It's one of those objects that delights no matter what instrument you use. To find NGC 457, start at Rukba, sweep 2 degrees south and 1 degree west, and ET will wave back at you. This month's challenge object is NGC 281, a large diffuse emission nebula in Cassiopeia. It's better known as the Pac-Man Nebula for its distinctive shape. It was discovered by Edward Emerson Barnard in 1881. NGC 281 lies about 9,200 light-years away and stretches across 30 arc-minutes of sky. Its integrated brightness is around magnitude 7.4, but don't be fooled, its light is spread over a large area, making it a much tougher target than a nebula of similar brightness. What makes NGC 281 especially interesting is that it's not just a nebula. It's also home to an open cluster of young stars, IC 1590, embedded in its glowing hydrogen gas. The cluster is easy to spot in nearly any telescope. The nebula, however, is much tougher. Several Bach globules thread through the nebula, along with lots of dark nebula, silhouetted against the hydrogen glow, creating the open-mouth Pac-Man effect. Visually, this one is a true challenge. You'll need at least a 6-inch scope to glimpse it from suburban skies. Under dark skies with the UHC or an O3 filter, the nebula reveals itself beautifully. The cluster's stars sparkle, while the faint nebulosity forms this characteristic wedge-like bite. In my 8-inch Dobsonian, especially at low power, the Pac-Man shape becomes more pronounced. Astrophotographers find NGC 281 to be a spectacular subject. Even short exposures start to show the soft glow of the nebula. With longer integrations, the details really come alive. The billowing hydrogen clouds stretch outward in delicate folds. Dark Bach globules carve striking shapes through the emission glow, giving the nebula a 3-dimensional feel. Long exposures bring out strong contrast and reveal the nebula's intricate texture. The embedded cluster, IC 1590, adds starlight that sparkles against the glowing background. While visually challenging to spot, especially from suburban skies, this is a fun and rewarding object. To find NGC 281, start at Cheddar and sweep just under 1.5 degrees east. A detailed chart will definitely help here, since the nebula doesn't leap out right away. That's exactly what makes it a great challenge object. I hope you'll give these treasures of Cassiopeia a try. Maybe you'll even add a few of them to your list of favorites. Thanks so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you found it fun, informative, and inspiring. Most of all, I hope it encouraged you to step outside and spend some time under the stars. If you've got questions, feedback, or ideas for future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at astroguypodcast@gmail.com or send a text or a voicemail to 973-404-0380. Be sure to check out the AstroGuy Podcast group on Facebook and visit our YouTube channel for past episodes, observing tips, and bonus content. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really helps us reach more fellow Skywatchers. If you'd like to support the show, you can even buy us a cup of coffee. Every bit goes toward keeping the microphones on, the computers running, and the telescopes pointed skyward. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, may your skies be clear, and as always, carpe noctem, seize the night. I'm Wayne Zool, and this was the AstroGuy Podcast. Thank you for listening. As always, your questions, comments, and suggestions are welcome. Keep wondering. Keep your eyes on the sky. Have fun. Carpe noctem. Seize the night.